Hola, I'm here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Bueno, todavía hay tiempo. Hay como unos 5 minutitos. Hello.
So, be welcome to the talk presented by Maria Guadalupe Sanchez Cordova. Let me introduce her. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez Cordova is an English teacher who holds a bachelor's degree in TEFL from the Amecameca Normal School, a place where she has taught literature, translation, project designing, and academic texts, teaching English at secondary school and at Centro Regional de Lenguas Creativas. The Expert University. Being the Mextesol Amecameca chapter vice president, she loves neuroscience, focusing on education field, neurodidactics, and their implication in the teaching and learning process on EFL in young learners. And she is very interested in neuroeducational perspectives to transform teaching process at different education. Cordova, please.
Okay. So can I okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. So hello everybody. Good morning. I hope that you're fine. Can you hear me, please? Please say if you can hear me. Thank you. So well, we're going to start with this presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. And one more, let me know if you can see it. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Javier. Thank you of activities of the webinar series entering to the 21 teaching and learning. So as Alejandro mentioned previously, I am teacher Guadalupe or teacher Lu. And today I'm talking about a very interesting topic that I really enjoy a lot, that is related with memory and emotions. Are memories connected to TTF? Let's find it out. So I hope that you find very useful information and of course something new to be included in your teaching practice. So let's start with something very interesting. So I'm going to show you different images. And please, I'm going to ask you to identify the emotions that you can look at these pictures, right? So okay, ready? The first start, please, using the chat or even open your microphones. It's okay. Please, what is the emotion that you identify here? Okay. What do you think of this image? Okay, happiness. It's like there are a lot of, there is, okay, smiling. And yeah, of course, happiness. So let's go with the next one. Okay, this is just to identify like the most common emotions. So what is this one? So here there is a girl and she's like, oh my God. So surprise. Okay, thank you, Javi. So someone else, Lydia, Lynette, please share your answers here on the chat of Zoom.
Maybe excitement too. I don't know.
Okay, maybe excitement. That's just like kind of a general idea. It's okay. Thank you so much. And okay, let's go with this one, like a movie, or even when we are in a haunted house. Okay, thank you, Lydia. I'm so sorry if I am doing this, but here when I am at, it's really cold. So okay, thank you. This one, that is child that is doing this. So what do you think? Is this emotion?
Anger.
Yes, definitely. Of course, it's like even so. Yeah, it's like I don't like that. I prefer doing other things, not just that was shot by you or something like that. So thank you. This one, I think there is like other easy ones. So Please, Lynette, Javier, Daniel, you can open your microphones or you just, okay, sadness. Yes, definitely. Like it's when, oh my God, they are not going to end together at the end of the movie, for example. Okay, thank you. Upset, that was a very good one. Thank you. But well, so some of these images are obviously related with emotions. And in most of the cases, they are related with emotions that we're familiarized or that we are constantly in touch in our daily day. So we commonly feel happy or even feel sad, or even that's the kind of emotions that we amplify for our students at the educational level that we belong to. So when we ask them like, how are you today? And if they don't have something in mind, we just ask them like, are you happy or are you sad? Are you worried? Okay, so we're familiarized with this kind of emotions. But in this case, so have you ever asked yourself, where are these emotions from? Because of course we feel them and we are constantly experimenting them. But from where are these emotions? So let's start to discover from where they are. So let's see. In this case, there are different brains. Okay, we have different brains, or we have different areas there that are divided into three parts in this system. In this case, in that part of the brain, emotions are, well, the environment is analyzed, and based on that analysis, emotions are produced. And of course, the emotions not always are the same because there aren't always the same external stimulus. So according to this, the limbic system or the emotional interpret our situation of the environment that we are at. So, well, this is just a part, but in this part of the limbic system, we have other parts that support this analyze that, of course, this realize. So here we have four different are divided, which is divided brain, that is amygdala, hypothalamus, thalamus, and hippocampus. In this case, each one of these remember a specific event of the past, we're gonna evocate that emotions that as it is wrote, or we have that here in this part is like here takes place the interpretation of what is happening around us, and at the same time, the thalamus just got that information to different parts of our brain to be able or to give us the possibility to understand what is happening, and of course interpret the way that we have to be at, and of course to identify the kind of. And finally, we have the hippocampus. In this case, this is like the one who is in charge of convert that short-term memories to long-term memories. So this is a very, very important part because hippocampus and amygdala work constantly together. Amygdala is in charge to evocate emotions, during the memories. And on the other hand, hippocampus is related with transform to those short-term memories to long-term memories. And of course, be able to create memories with emotional content. And of course, the second characteristic of this part of the limbic system is the situational and places memory. So this is work together among these four elements that support brain to interpret what is happening, and of course to give us an idea of what we have to do. But we're going to talk about that in a brief moment. So, sorry. Okay, here. So a part of that, well, yeah, we were talking about the limbic system, but at the same time, the limbic system is related with emotional brain. And what does it mean? It means that the emotional brain as we saw previously. So all of these elements allowed us to, of course, interpret what is happening. And there, the other part, well, this the same brain works as a filter. And what happened with the filter? Was that this filter select the information. So once we have tried to interpret information, where now we are going to filter them to identify what are those elements of our environment that result us comfortable or not comfortable, or even what is interesting or what is, or we are not going to pay attention to those elements because we're not going to be interested, or we're not going to just feel comfortable in that kind of environment, or even being in a specific kind of situations. On the other hand, it works by associations. It means that there are going to be some elements in the environment that we're going to remind us a certain emotion, or even we are going to interpret that kind of things are not exactly related with us, or that even we don't like to be in that kind of situations, or even experimented that kind of feelings when we are with someone. So, so that's part of the emotional brain. So this is like a very complex work among very different elements that we can find in the brain. So, well, how can emotions define? Because we have talked a bit about this part of the limbic system, and of course about the emotional brain. And at the same time, we have mentioned at the beginnings of emotions, but okay, we are accustomed to maybe have the definition of happiness or sadness, that could be like, when you are not happy, or even when you are happy. What about the general concept of emotions? So in this part, I would like to listen to someone here, like, for example, Lindinet or Lydia or Javier. So you can open your microphones, or even you can write the answer on the chat Zoom. So you can share with me, or well, with us, like we're here. How can emotions be defined? So what do you think about it now that you know where they are from? So I like to listen to, or I like to read your answers. So you have 1 minute to think about it. So what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Yeah, it's hard to define it. Yeah, because it involves, just try it, Okay, they are reactions to our environment. I could define them like all those sensations that change our feelings, ways of think. Okay, thank you, Javier. Thanks so much. Who was? Okay, thank you, Lydia. So yeah, in most of the cases, well, in these two answers, I can see that you have an idea of what they are. And at the same time, because of this part of define, where are they from, and things like that, so you can have a very clear idea. I know that it is difficult, but you are doing very well. So let's see. In this case, well, there are a lot of different definitions, but I think that this is like the more related with the topic of today's presentation. That is like, emotions are biological and cognitive events associated with behavior and actions. Because as you mentioned in some of your answers, Lydia and Javier, there are some moments in which these emotions are going to try to affect, well, they're not going to try. They are going to modify our behavior, because we're going to have a reaction to what is happening when we are at. So yes, definitely they modify our behavior, of course. And at the same time, they are sudden and intense reactions, because we're not like prepared to be happy, or we're not prepared to be sad. So we're just experimenting emotions when we have the opportunity, when we are environment provide conditions to be. In this case, is cognitive, because we are thinking about the reasons or why we feel in that way. Why, if I be in this environment, I feel sad, or even if I'm working in this place, I don't feel happy, or even if it's time with someone, with any person, I don't feel comfortable. So in this way, because it's part of the cognitive dimension, was mentioned in the definition of emotions, we change the way that we are of the person we are when with the person that when we are, or even in the environment. So this is part of what emotions are. And of course, psychological. Yes, that is other important dimension, because of course part of the social dimension. So, but well, here are other very important questions. What do we feel or experiment emotions? I know that maybe I give you the answer, but but well, just try to the same. Open your microphone or even write some answers on the chat Zoom to answer. Why do we feel? And now we know that being analyzed what is around us. So, what do you think? Why do we feel or experiment emotions? So, okay, I have an answer here. We are humans and we react based to questions, events. Okay, thank you, Javier. That's a very good answer. A very good answer, right? Or Time Beto or Daniel Ross.
Teacher.
Feel free. Yes, tell me.
I think it's something like from very old times, like for survival, like get scared, run, escape. And I think it's something that evolved. And now, I mean, you won't die, or you won't, like, or sometimes we are risking our lives, right? But I think it's also something like, I don't know, nature giving you clues like escape, run, or you're fine.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And also, thank you, Lydia, as mechanism of defense or a way to evaluate our surroundings. Yes, definitely. And it is strongly related with what was mentioned by Lindy. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in this brief question. And of course, part of these emotions is, like I mentioned previously, is the reaction to the to encourage us to be safe. So this is like we're gonna experiment an emotion, and we're gonna be in a specific way, maybe to be safe, or maybe to do something to don't be in that environment or in that situation. So yes, of course, it is related with the environment. It is related, of course, with the behavior, with what we are going to do. And of course, they are unavoidable. This is not like, I'm not going to feel anything today. I'm not going to feel happiness. I'm not going to feel sadness. I'm not going to be angry or things like that. No, because at the end, and as we saw previously, they are just sudden reactions that is like, oh my goodness, Lynette opened her microphone and I feel happy because she is participating. And also Lydia is writing their answers on the chat Zoom. So that makes me feel like in a very comfortable environment. And that is influencing the way that I am behaving in this moment. So thank you, girls. So, well, a part of that was mentioned by all of people here. We have like other functions, a part of surviving and a part of being part of us as human beings. So we have two principal roles of emotions. Of course, there could be other ones, but we're gonna don't worry, Lydia, don't worry. It's okay that you are using the chat Zoom. And of course, everybody is reading your answers. So thanks so much. So in this case, we have two important aspects and functions of emotions. The first one is social, and the second one is adaptive. So in the first one, social, is related with this communication. For example, when we are in our classroom, because most of us are English teachers, we're communicating something, but just words. Instead of that, we communicate our ideas or even our modes using our body language. And of course, transmitting the way that we are at that moment. For example, if I'm happy in this moment, maybe Javier is going to feel happy too. Or even if Javier doesn't feel in that way, I'm going to ask them what happened. And in that way, we're going to have this kind of affective communication, because communication is not just using words or even using like writing way. in the part of regulation of others' reaction, and it is related with what was mentioned. So here we're going to regulate the way that we are being at with a person or in that environment. If happy and Javier or even Lidinette are angry, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, what happened, guys? How are you today? Because I'm extremely happy. No, we're going to identify what is the way or why we're going to modify our behavior, because I have to understand that Lidinette and Javier are not in the same way that me. So that is important because we are interpreting others' emotions, and of course, we are taking them into account. As you notice that I am that kind of person who is gonna considering that I'm not ignoring your emotions, well, you're gonna feel comfortable with me, and of course, I'm gonna feel comfortable with you. That be considered different. This is related with how we're going to modify our behavior according to the situation, according to what is happening, and of course, in terms of our possibilities, to avoid maybe misunderstandings that I am not interested in how you are, or that kind of stuff. So, well, yeah, this part of emotions are a bit complex. So, well, here we have some, here we have some emotions characteristics, because as we know, we have different types of emotions. So, but for that, I like to play a game, a very brief game. So I'm going to stop to share my screen, and I hope my internet connection will not fail this time. So it's here. So please say if you can see my screen, please. Put in the reaction. Okay, thank you, Livia. So, well, in this case, well, we have talked about the role or, well, the function of emotion. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, well, here we have the different emotions. So, please, Javier, could you help me to identify what could be the options for secondary emotions? Because here we have a list: fear, jealousy, sadness, happiness, stress, anger, guilt, surprise, shame, and disgust. So what do you think here, Javi? What could be a possible answer?
About secondary emotions?
Yes.
Could be jealousy, and shame.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and shame. Okay, thank you. In this case, Lidinette, what do you think could be other options for secondary emotions? Just one.
I think guilt.
Okay, guilt. Okay, what do you think about it? Okay, distrust. Okay, perfect. Let's see. So in this case, what are those primary emotions? What could be? Please feel free to open your microphone. So of the list, what do you think, guys? It's a secondary or a primary?
It's primary.
Okay.
I think.
Thank you, Lidinette. In the case of sadness, Javier, what do you think? It's a secondary one or a primary? A primary one.
Primary.
Okay, thank you. In the case of surprise, is it okay?
Primary.
Okay, primary. Okay, let's see. Anger, it's a secondary or primary? What do you think?
Primary.
Okay. Disgust, I think that could be primary, right? Or what do you think?
Yes, I think it's primary.
Okay, primary emotion. It's a primary emotion. So let's see. Let's check our answers. Are you sure of this classification of emotions? Just have like 5 seconds to check all of the answers we give. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and okay, and 5. So let's check our answers. Okay, very good. We did a great job. So yes. So here we have the different emotions. Of course, some of them are primary, or some of them are secondary. What's the difference here? The difference is that secondary emotions are part of primary emotions or are derived from them. In the case of primary emotions are those emotions. So in this part, these primary emotions, of course, derive into different type of reactions. And that is when secondary emotions take place. Okay, so I'm going to stop to share my screen and we're gonna go back to this presentation. So, can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, thanks so much. So, well, as I showed you previously, that I spoiled some information here. So here I have some characteristics of the way that we express these emotions and how they are activated. Of course, well, this chart is in Spanish, but we can see that a part of primary and secondary emotions, we have other emotions that are working at the same time, that they are like in a second dimension. We're not exactly like so conscious about them. That is not the case of primary because we are really feeling them. And of course, we are experimenting them with a lot of consciousness of what is happening. And the second one that is, well, emotions, secondary emotions is like that could be influenced by external situation or external emotions that are happening at the same time, but like in a parallel way, that is most generally generated by internal aspects. Okay, that is like, for example, here we have a kind of definition that I'm going to read it in Spanish. Los activadores son en general internos. That is in the case of the last type of emotions. And of course, it's like when we are thinking a lot in just one specific idea, or when we are like just not letting to go a situation, and we are constantly returning to this aspect. So, well, we have talked about the emotions a lot, okay? And our title, well, in this case, the title of this presentation, it's a part of emotions related with memory. So let's do it. So remember the first time. This is something interesting for me because I really want to know about your experiences. And I hope that you feel free and, of course, comfortable to share them with me. That this game is called Remember the First Time. So I'm going to show you different events or activities, and you have to answer. For example, so remember the first time you went to Six Flags. So what happened the first time you went to Six Flags? Well, in the case of someone here in the public, went to Six Flags. So Javier, so could you give us your experience just briefly? What happened the first time you were there?
Well, I was really scared because all the games, because most of them are really extreme. So I don't like that kind of games. However, I tried with my sister to the Superman, and well, then the first time I didn't want, but I did it. And the second time, I enjoyed it.
Okay, perfect. 10 years old. Okay, she was so young. And in the case of Lindinet, have you ever gone to Six Flags?
No, it looks scary. I have never gone for that reason.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you. Okay. Lydia says, I was so afraid to ride a roller coaster, being a person who loves to have on earth, and I didn't try. as many as I like. Okay, yeah. So everybody here agreed that we have like or I don't like to be there because everybody is screaming, so I don't like to experiment that emotion at the beginning. But then we try it, and even we realize that the sensation of be part of the games was situation or experience that at the beginning I was afraid to enjoy a lot the games as I had in mind previously. But when I tried with the first game that was the Supergirl, I think that or even the Batman that was the second one, I feel better because once that I've experienced, once that I had that experience to be there, I knew how to react to that situation. And at the same time, I realized that doesn't mean or that doesn't represent a lot of danger. That was like a very funny experience. But well, that's just like certain situations. And of course, how that it's going to pragmatize our memories. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. So let's go with the next example. That is okay. Remember the first time you had a surprise party in your birthday? Have you ever experimented that? So let me know that. You feel free to write on the chat Zoom, the chat box, sorry, or you feel free to open your microphone as you wish. Okay, Sandra, if you can listen to us, please share your experience being part of a surprise party or if someone has organized for you a surprise party. Okay, veamos, Lidia. Well, it is, just to exemplify those kind of situations, because I haven't in that kind of of events. Okay, but you organize one for your niece. Sorry. Okay, very good. She really loved it. Okay, thank you, Lidia. So in this case, when we organize this kind of surprise events, we tend to create a kind of expectation, and not just because of we are waiting for that party, no, because we're discovering how to react to that kind of events, because in some cases it's of course very surprising and you don't know how to react, even you know how to feel in that at the moment. You are analyze the feelings that you are the emotions that you are experimenting in that way. So okay, that was just an example. The next case, okay, is that I think that everybody has experimented these kind of things. That is, remember the first time you spoke English in front of his or her experience. So who wants to say? Me, I want to say how I feel the first time I spoke English in front of a lot of people.
Me.
Okay. Okay, Lindinet, and then Javier, please.
Javi. I'm sorry, Javi. The first time I was like 17 years old and I had to do like some kind of conference for the whole auditorium of the school. I was in university.
Yes.
And I had to talk about autism in English. And I was super, super worried and like nervous because I wasn't an expert. I was just a student. I was studying English teaching. And I did it. I did it well, I think. And I had to learn a lot. I prepared super like 4 days and days and days. And then we had a section for questions. I was like, oh, what are they going to ask? What if I don't know? And my first experience.
Okay, thanks so much. Yes, that's part of the questions and answers. Yes, it's actually like part of doing that kind of things. But yeah, thank you.
So I was really, really nervous because I had to do it in front of all the principals, teachers. So even I was like, my knees, my mouth, and all my senses in that moment. So I could do it, but all the adrenaline in that moment, well, in all your body and all your mind. And even when I was speaking, the first words, be nervous, but I could do it.
Okay, thank you, Javier. Yes, and of course, thank you. Okay. Oh my God, Lydia, did you speak French? To give a talk French? Wow, that's amazing. Of course, I think the French is a bit harder than English, but yeah. So here we can see that everybody shares some feelings, emotions, sorry. And of course, we're constantly like feeling or being ourselves, feeling to ourselves exposed to people. Because when we are using the language, well, in this case, our first experiences of Lynette, Lydia, Javier, okay, they were totally afraid because they feel that they were in front of a lot of people, and a lot of those people was paying attention to what you were saying. So yeah, it's so hard and it's so complicated. And of course, this last event, that is, you were the first time you were in front of a classroom as teacher. So hey, hello. So okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, this is my first time being here, so it's kind of nice. So I remember my first time, it was in a high school, and well, before that, I was in an English school. So it was crazy because I was able to speak it, but I learned the grammar here in Mexico.
Okay.
So I remember that I probably had some mistakes, but it was exciting. I like to teach, and I don't know, but yeah, I was so nervous too. So I probably have made mistakes. So, but it was a great experience, and I've been in English since then. So it's been about 8 years now.
Wow.
So it's cool.
Okay, thanks so much, Marco. Of course, we welcome.
Thank you.
So yes, definitely here we all agree that all of us were nervous the first time we were in front of the class, thinking about the material, we're thinking about the students, and of course, we're thinking about the way that we are being there. So yes, it could be a bit scary, of course. So through all of these different different events, we can realize that our emotions are part of our memories, because even when we start on something we remember, we're going to start to feel, to have the emotion of that one. Because if I think it was that I went to Six Flags, it's like, oh wait, I was so excited. And of course, I was happy, and at the same spoke in front of a lot of people, and being in front of a classroom as teacher, it could be the same. And here is when our emotions, our memory, find a connection, because they find the way to be present in a special emotion, present in memories. So this is related with somatic care hypothesis. In 2007, Damasio established some very interesting things related with these two aspects, memory and emotions, because they found, he found that if there is a kind of neuron affective state in a past event, and we evoke that that event or present that could affect our future or the way that we're gonna look at the similar situation but in the future. And we're gonna develop a kind of behavioral predisposition because we know what is the result. We're gonna try consequences of the actions or even to enjoy the situations that we're gonna be at. So this is how we're gonna modify, of course, behavior. And this is the way that we're gonna find this connection between what we feel and what we live. And of course, based on that experiences and of that kind of emotions, we're gonna make decisions and we are gonna know what to do or how can we face better the situation that maybe at the beginning and makes us experiment fear emotions or nervous. So then, of course, we can find again the emotional memory. This memory, as I mentioned previously, it's found in our memories. Yes, in this memory, we can find emotions. And of course, it has been studied that when the memory contains this emotional more time than neutral memories. And of course, this is related with the amygdala activation because amygdala interprets what is happening around us. And in that way, amygdala is going to say, okay, body, this is happening, so we have to react in this way because as we remember, when we were in this situation, we act in that way and we have to do it better. So, well, that is part of this relation between memory and emotions. So, well, we have talked a lot of memory and emotions and that kind of stuff. But well, now we're going to talk about what about school and what about TEFL? Okay, TEFL. Sorry, I'm nervous. So, let's go to how can we find this in our classroom or during the teaching process of the language. So here, it is important to consider that, of course, there are other types of memories, there are other types of emotions, but here we can find them in this brief example, because if we find that our students are paying attention, or well, processes of attention have started during our classes, there is going to be a kind of curiosity. And at the same time, this active memory that is related with the memory that we three elements together, we can say that learning has started because it is needed for that process. We need to students to pay attention and of course to encourage their curiosity related with the content of the class. And of course, we have to work constantly with this active memory that is associated with the information that we are using at the moment of develop an activity. So based on the previous, and of course, like finding a more clear connection, here we have the first, this first phrase that says, learning is better when we feel something. And there with orange letters, we have, think about your favorite class. And now everybody, please think about your favorite class. Why that class is your favorite over others? Because maybe when we're in that classes, we are experimented something more than just being part of a classroom. Because maybe teacher puts into practice some activities that make those experiment emotions like happiness or curiosity, or we're gonna feel something while we are learning. Because it's totally different when we are learning and when we learn something from classes who are totally in silence, or even in those classes or lessons in which we don't feel that curiosity to know more about the topic, or even to be passions of boring, and it's okay. So what's happening with that teacher that we don't want to be there, and we don't want to be that part, we don't want to be part of the class because we don't feel that emotion. that is like, oh my goodness, it's time for, I don't know, for math class. And I really like that class because a part of knowledge that we are acquiring, well, that's just an example because just like another subject, it's like we are experimenting that emotion to know that the class is going to start. It's almost to start. The first example was math, of course. The second one is English. Oh my goodness, class is almost to start. So let's get prepared our notebook or our dictionary or whatever is needed for that class. Because a part of practice or know about grammar rules or of course English vocabulary, teacher transmit us something else that is happiness, that we are very motivated or of course enthusiastic to be part of that class, of the activities, because I share with my class, enjoy the process. They are enjoying the process in which they are involved. So at the same time, this disposition to learn, yeah, it is true that it's like more focused to learn something. However, we have to be careful because it's not the same to say that because they are happy, they are going to learn something. No. In all the parts of assignment of the strategies, we have to find a balance between the emotions that we're going to in our list, because as we know, it will encourage, for example, a stressful environment. If this is so stressful, of course, there are some action in the content of the class. So what if we find we're trying to focus their attention, to catch their attention in activities to make them happy or even to make them comfortable to use the language, and they are gonna feel like they are exposed to other classmates. So at the same time, what happened with this stress environment, as you know, the neurotransmitter related with stress is cortisol. So in this case, this neurotransmitter, if it is using during the learning process, it is okay. But it is at the same. We have to find like a medium point to encourage this kind of environments, to make the students like that challenging part of the learning process, of course. Not a very difficult task, but not so easy to make them to. So here, related with the previous point, is like we find some helpfulness emotions to learn. In the first column, we have the trust, curiosity, intentionality, and enthusiasm. In this case, of course, those are the kind of emotions that support the learning process. However, on the other hand, boring, fear, anxiety, sadness, and angry don't let the students achieve the aim of the lesson. And of course, in this case, as we're English teachers, they don't allow the students pay attention and of course practice with the language, because they are so focused on what they are feeling that they are like, no. For example, when students in our classrooms are anxious, they start to think a lot maybe in a very short or brief answers that they have to say. And in that moment, they are like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm going to make a mistake. I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I am going to pronounce correctly. So they started to overthink the answer. And of course, it produced a waste cognition. I don't remember how to say it, but it's like this como desperdicio cognitivo, because they are not focused on the activity or in the language content. They are overthinking what it's going to be said. And of course, sadness and fear and boring is the same. So boring is like when students don't want to pay attention or they don't find interesting the classes or even the activities or the material. So that that makes us difficult the process. And of course, sometimes it's like the attitude of the students that they don't want to do to learn the language, and of course they don't want to develop the activities or practice with other classmates. So that is the kind of emotions that don't let students to improve with the language, of course, or even to experiment with it. That of course they are not positive or negative emotions, but the reactions or the actions they get done based on them, positive or negative. In this case, related attention. If we're motivated, we're gonna pay attention. We are, if we're in a very comfortable environment, we're gonna pay attention. And that is what happened here. Again, with all, and I really